Okay, you get the exciting opportunity of my face as part of this presentation, which may not be a great thing, but anyway, we'll try it out. And you get Pyston behind, a glorious place. So this is book 9. It's about the Cyclops, and it's covering those key events of what's going on. As you remember, book 9 has got these 3 different kind of features. Small, short story, long story. So the Cicones, the Low Sea Cyclops. On those key events, the battle with the Cicones is the last kind of normal thing. So it's a geographically known place. From here on in, it's all going to be mythical, and it's going to be part of Odysseus' story. This is where Odysseus is kind of leaving normality, and he's going to go into something rather stranger. Interesting as well, isn't it, that the lotus eaters, what happens if you eat their fruit is that you forget. And this is, I think, metaphorically saying that the crew are forgetting Ithaca, aren't they? After 10 years away, and so it's Odysseus who drags them back to the boats. And then the third story in the Cyclops, you might sit there thinking, when Odysseus boasts of who he is and he gives away his address almost, because he says, "Oh, Cyclops, if you wonder who it was who blinded you, you can tell them that it was it's a son of Laertes, Odysseus of Ithaca," and he makes it really clear where he's come from and who he is. Now, you might think that's really stupid, but if you're a hero, then you need to tell Polyphemus who has been the one to blind him. Your identity and your heroism are essentially together, aren't they? Odysseus is looking for his Kleos, he's looking for the glory, and so clearly he doesn't want the glory of being a nobody, he wants the glory of being Odysseus. So for Odysseus to have really sensed that he's revenged himself on Polyphemus, Polyphemus must be told who's blinded him. So there's your kind of key events of those 3 stories: short story, long story. Remember that there's also a useful plot device. The curse right at the end from Polyphemus, which is where he shouts to his father Poseidon, "Hear me, Poseidon, sustainer of the earth, god of the sable locks. If I am yours indeed, and you claim me as your son, grant that Odysseus, sacker of cities, son of Laertes," he's got the address again, he's remembered that, "may never reach his home in Ithaca," so he knows where he's going. And he says, if he's destined to reach his friends again, to come home to his house and reach his native land, let him come late, in wretched plight, having lost all his comrades in a foreign ship, let him find trouble in his home. If you're wondering about how to curse somebody, don't do just one thing. Look at the 5. There's 5 there. 5. It's much better. So the whole string of things, and that's exactly, of course, what's going to happen to Odysseus. So we're just going to have a little dip into this interesting concept of no one, or metis. And this is in book 9. Remember that once Odysseus is captured in the cave, he shows quite a lot of courage and intelligence. He stands up to the Cyclops, and he's cunning in the way he actually works with that. And a common epithet for Odysseus is really great if you could learn this, is polymetis, of much cunning intelligence. And if you look at the footnote on page 121, I'll leave you to do that for yourselves, you'll see the little detail about what metis actually means. And you can add that in to your booklet. And it's a nice little cunning thing. And you actually see the way in which Odysseus behaves, which reveals that he makes a plan, he uses flattery, he disguises his true identity, he takes action, he's tactical. All of the events of book 9, which you know about, demonstrate this much cunning intelligence. It's a really great place that you can exemplify Odysseus' personality. In the style and narrative technique stuff, have a little look at this concept of foreshadowing. So foreshadowing is when you have something that you're going to come back to later, and you don't make a big thing of it initially, and it comes back later. If you have a look at lines 162 to 167, and then line 191 to 211, go and have a read of those, see how they set up the plot for later on in the book. So what I'm going to suggest is you pause the video now, look those up, look up line 345 to 372, see whether you get it. This is the pause moment. Okay, so if you come back, hopefully you've seen that actually what's happened is apparently Odysseus gets some wine, purely innocently. He takes it into to visit the Cyclops himself. And remember the significant thing about this wine, that actually it says in line 208, to drink this red and honeyed vintage, this is the priest, he would pour 1 cupful of wine into 20 of water. So this is really strong wine. Usually wine in the ancient times was watered down 1 part wine to 3 parts of water. This is what watered down 1 to 20. Shows how strong it is. So if you want to get a giant drunk, what do? You give them some enormously strong wine, which is exactly what happens. Note as well the sailor's drill simile. If you want to look at a narrative technique, it's relevant to the listeners. They would have made ships themselves. It's a very vivid image. They drill the drill into the Cyclops' eye, and it bursts, and it also all the blood foams up, doesn't it? And comes pouring out. He pulls the stake from his eye, and it's streaming with blood, scorching heat, etc. And it's extended. It's a long simile. And then you can pop into that. That's what they would actually look like if you were having a drill from the ancient period. It's also added to by the blacksmith simile, which you can see, and this is in line 380 to 400 of the text. So simile, foreshadowing, and double simile, in fact. And then a few little things of character developments. We've got some signs of problems between Odysseus and the crew now appearing. Firstly, the crew are bitter with Odysseus. Line 225, they don't want to stay in the Cyclops cave. Line 493, they shout at him for giving away his identity. But Odysseus is bitter with the crew. He doesn't like the fact they're hanging around in the island of the Cicones. He's cross with them that they don't actually do what he wants to, and he says, I'll tell him if I want to, etc. But at this stage, not a total disaster yet. They are still comrades. They all cry at the loss of their comrades. Right in line 550, we have this idea that when they've captured the rams from Cyclops Island, they give the biggest one to Odysseus as a sort of piece of honour to him. And Odysseus says, my comrades in arms did me the special honour of presenting me with a big ram in addition to the sheep that he got. And then line 561 to 565, when they set off again, they climb on board at once and off they went together. They're all still unified, but let's wait and see what happens in the course of book 10, 11 and 12 to the relationship with the crew. So there you go. That's your book 9 summary.